So right now, there's this narrative going around that Nintendo is going to release Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green on the eShop for like $30. I don't know if it's true yet. We don't have any verification. This is just a rumor right now. But what interests me is about like the framing of this. Because first of all, it would be more likely that Nintendo would just put like for Gen 1 on NSO first, and then just slowly start adding new Pokemon games onto the service, you know? Like, there's no reason to think that, like, the Pokemon Company is refusing to allow Nintendo to put them on the App Store. Like, not the App Store, the Nintendo Classic service. Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to think that. It's just speculation. I've seen so much, like, misinformation and lies about Nintendo Classics over the years that, like, it kind of just runs by me now. But, like, it does need to be said openly to my audience. There is no reason to think that the Pokemon Company does not want their games on Nintendo Classics. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's embarrassing, and it does need to get called out. Like, there's no reason to think that's true. So, secondly, so people are saying that this game is going to cost $30. Okay, like they're gonna release like the game digitally on the eShop for $30, and immediately people were like seething about it, like, oh, that's overpriced, that's ridiculous, they're just ROMs. Oh, how could they do this to us? Like there was all this like bitching and moaning, and I was kind of sitting here like snickering because like, do you know how much these games run in like the used games market? Like, if you haven't been paying attention, and like if you're part of the Pokemon hate community, you're not. If you try and get like a copy of Pokemon Emerald today, it runs like $220. You know, I've seen like that's been the case for years. Is that this is a very valuable, very rare game that's hard to find, that has a lot of resale value because of all of its unique features and the Pokemon you can find within it, right? You know, Pokemon Emerald is a huge, huge deal, right? Fire Red and Leaf Rain, not so much. I'm sure you can get it for a little bit cheaper, but like Pokemon games are extraordinarily valuable secondhand because the Pokemon Company doesn't re-release these games all that often. And so for a lot of people, like buying these games is very, very important, especially when like you need to start like thinking about like completing your Pokedex or like catching certain things or, you know, revisiting certain areas and doing certain things. Like, if being a Pokemon fan has never been cheap, essentially, right? This shouldn't surprise anybody who's an actual fan. But the fact of the matter is, considering these situations, considering how expensive Pokemon games are on the aftermarket, like, if a ROM of Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green were just sold in the eShop for $30, like, if that did happen, I don't think it will happen, but, like, that's the narrative. If that would happen, that would be an absolute steal, okay? Like, don't try to tell me that emulation exists, because it doesn't. That's illegal. And you can't engage in social features, so it wouldn't be relevant even if that was true. So, like, yeah, if Fire Red and Leaf Green were sold on the eShop for $30, that would be an absolute steal, considering how expensive these games are in general. You know, that is the reality of the situation. That $30 would be a perfectly reasonable price point for the best-selling Game Boy Advance games of all time, okay? Like, there's nothing unreasonable about that. And I'm getting very, very tired of seeing Nintendo fans bitch about prices, okay? Because, like, I remember when, like, Earthbound was ported to Virtual Console back in the day, and it launched at, like, $10 compared to the usual $7. And $8, actually, was $8. And people were spurging about it, saying it was too expensive, saying that, like, that this was unreasonable, that they could get it for free, and, like, this was, like, years and years ago. So, like, again, I am very, very tired of seeing this kind of nonsense. Like, it does absolutely need to stop. Like, I don't want to see people bitching about price points for, like, old games. I don't want to see people bitching about price points for new games. Like, you only ever really see people do this for Nintendo games specifically, honestly. You don't see anybody complaining about, like, GTA 6's price point, right? Like, you know, you still have people saying that, like, $70 is full price when $80 is the standard now. It's like, come on. You're, like, embarrassing yourselves. It's just, it's just downright ridiculous how all this is playing out. And it is high time that we really start like acknowledging these kinds of like discrepancies and how they don't really make any sense. And it's just people bitching for the sake of bitching. Like there's no thought put into it. There's no consideration. There's no like reasonable discourse. Like, oh yeah, this Pokemon product exists, so we have to downplay it. You know, it's just unbearably stupid and ridiculous. And I do think that it is high time that we start like acknowledging that this is a joke. Like all of this is ridiculous, that it's just people looking for reasons to complain, and that like there are plenty of examples of older games being sold at like higher price points, right? Like, you know, you see this from other companies all the time, but only with Nintendo or with Pokemon do you see the kind of bitching and moaning and complaining. It's unbelievable. How many people do you see who even acknowledge, you know, The Last of Us Part 2 came out on PC at like a higher price point? It's not something anyone talks about. You know, nobody talks about it. Nobody addresses it. It just kind of flies under the radar while people bitch about a hypothetical $30 Pokemon release. Like, it is unbelievably ridiculous how all of this plays out, and all of this just kind of demonstrates how stupid and hypocritical these people are. Like, that's just the current state of things, is that like people are looking for excuses to hate Nintendo, and they don't really have any real reason to do so. You know, how dare this Pokemon product cost money? How dare Nintendo do this to us? How dare I be expected to like play this on a Switch 2? You know, it's embarrassing. It is downright ridiculous, and I do think that more people really need to acknowledge just how down bad and sad it actually is. It is downright absurd how inconsistent and ridiculous these people are. They would not be happy with anything, no matter what Nintendo gave them and at what price point. And it's high time that we start like acknowledging that. Like, if these guys aren't happy with anything, why exactly should we ever take them seriously? If nothing Pokemon does would ever make them happy, why exactly should we call them fans? And if they're not fans, why exactly should we take their observations and their criticism seriously? You know, I am tired of seeing these people sit there and do nothing but complain about Nintendo while just making excuses to never acknowledge the company, to never acknowledge the success stories of Nintendo and the Pokemon Company, and just doing everything they can to just make everything look awful. And it needs to stop today.